everybody. Welcome to Gratefully Living the Chronic Life. My name is Lauren with the group Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. And I'm so happy to be here with you guys again tonight. I've had so many people tell me about how much they love the Thursday nights. And I am convinced that it's because we do this together. You know, it's not just me talking, God forbid. It's, all of us kind of trying to figure things out together. So I'm really proud of it. We are on episode 26 tonight. It's really, it's been going on like 6.5 months or so, I guess. If it's your first time here, welcome. What we do at Gratefully Living the Chronic Life is each Thursday night or Thursday, wherever it is, whatever time it is where you are, we have a topic that's usually relating to something with chronic pain, illness, or disability. But the way it kind of evolves is that most topics tend to work with other struggles for those who don't live with chronic conditions. So, for example, tonight is the importance of connection and community. And, we can't monopolize that. The chronic pain people cannot monopolize that for sure. We all can benefit from connection, especially now in this time of the pandemic where I got this hair flying all over the place, drove me crazy. In this time of the pandemic where it's getting a little trickier to have connection and community. So I want to hear from you guys. I've got a couple great questions. Before I start, if it is your first time and you haven't been here before, you need to allow StreamYard. You need to give them permission to use your name and picture if you're going to contribute. So if you haven't already clicked on it, StreamYard.com/Facebook, and you should be able to give them permission. And most of the time it works, but most of the time, once you do it, you never have to do it again. So we are airing in the group Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. Also my page, which is gratitudeaddict.com, and also on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. So we're airing in all three, I think on my personal page too, all 4 locations. So everybody's comments should come in while you're live, but when we're not live anymore, they kind of disperse. So try to get them in while we're still live. I love hearing from you guys with anything. I like discussing our topics and getting ideas and questions and all that. So please feel free to add some comments. Let's no, let me show my shirt first. This is not a new one. I am definitely recycling shirts now. I think it may have been from my very first episode though. Be kind, be brave, be grateful. I love this shirt. It's kind of like Thanksgiving-ish, and we are about to embark on November, which is the month of thanks and gratitude, isn't it? I think it's National Month of Gratitude. So it's practically the national holiday of Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. Speaking of the topic, before we get into the topic, I wanted to share with you all something that the admins, actually Arlene Hilder, came up with this fabulous idea. We've noticed that the stress levels, not just in our group, but in general right now in the United States, but in the world also, the stress levels are very high. And I don't think I need to say why they are high, but it's a tense time. We've got COVID, we've got, in the United States, we've got our election. We do not talk politics in the group, but that's part of the reason why I'm saying this right now. I was reading this article in the Greater Goods ScienceCenter.com. They're mostly a website about gratitude, so I love them. But there's an article that says 8 questions that can help you survive election stress, and it said that the American Psychological Association finds that this particular election is a significant source of stress. But the thing I found most interesting and sad, actually, is that according to a new report based on 3 surveys, about 7 in 10 Americans are worried about the risk of widespread widespread violence happening after the election. And 2/3 of the American public, they said, are stressed out about it. Last election, 2016, it was half. Now it's 2/3. So a couple of the things it was recommending are stuff we do in the group. Doing deep belly breathing is very, very helpful. It says putting your hand on your heart is helpful. The neural cells around the heart activate during stress, and your warm hand on your warm heart calms those neurons down again, often in less than a minute. That's interesting. And then meditation, which is really no surprise. So I encourage you all to do that if you feel like you need it with anxiety and stress. But what I was getting at is, what was I getting at? So Tuesday night is the election. And we have our regular Flush the Format live chat that night, Eastern Standard Time, 7 to 8 o'clock. And that's where you can go and you can kind of talk about anything you want, anything health related, stuff that normally we don't talk about on the page because we are positive only on the page and we don't compare each other's pain with each other because it just makes it, comparing just is not good for us. Right after Flush the Format this week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until, we're saying 10 p.m., but really it's going to go as long as we need to go. We are calling it, what are we calling it? What are we calling it? Oh, the positive pit stop from politics is what we're calling it. It is on Zoom. I put something in the group this week. It's for people who are members of AOG only. And it's a couple hours of sharing anything happy and positive, no politics, no updates on politics, nothing negative. So some of us, are very worried about what will happen. Pop in, pop out all night long, whatever you need to do. You can stay the whole time. You can pop in and out. We'll be sharing funny stories and positive graphics. And if you guys can think of anything that you'd like to bring to the table, please do. So I put the event up in the group today. So it's immediately after regular Flush the Format on Tuesday from 8 to 10 or question mark. And we're looking forward to it, Arlene. It's a great idea. And everybody that I've mentioned to seems to think it's a great idea too. So we will do that for anybody who's worried about the stress. Come on over to the positive pit stop from politics. Woohoo! All right, let's see. We've got some comments here. Let's see who's here with us tonight. Arlene's here. Hello, everyone. Let me take my thingy down. Can I do that? Yes. Hi, Arlene. Glad you're here. My mom. Hello. Hi, Mom. Karen's here. Hi, Karen. And Heidi's here. Hi, Heidi. Diana's here. Hello, people. Hello, Diana. Linda's here. Linda Edwards. Hello, Linda. Julia, Julie Schmerloff. Hi, Julia. Karen Goldberg's here. Hi, Lauren. Great to be here again. Glad to have you here, Karen. Soupy. Hey, Aunt Lauren, great job for keeping it going for so long. 26 episodes. Thanks, Soups. She's my niece. She helped with her sisters, Lindsay and McKenna, to make my fabulous new opening video. So thank you, Soupy. She's one of my biggest fans. My mom says Heidi is watching me. We had my parents' cat. I mentioned last week to you guys that my parents just sold their house to downsize. So we had their cat Heidi for about a week while they moved, and we miss her. They took her back yesterday. We miss her. Hi, Heidi. Eva's here. Howdy, Lauren and AOG. Hey, Eva. So glad you're here. Robin's back. How do, Grateful Tears? I forget who came up with that one. Was that you, Robin, that came up with Grateful Tears? I want to say it was Sarah Garrison, but whatever, whoever came up with it, it's a great name. I keep forgetting to use it. Eva says, stress makes disease worse. You are correct, and we're going to be talking about that. You are absolutely correct, Eva. Thank you. Great idea. Where do I sign up? Well, anybody who's a member of AOG can sign up. So if you'd like to come, Come on over. Margaret DeCarago Morse, hello, hi. It's so great that you guys come. Many of you come every single week, and that makes me feel so good. Karen, positive pit stops sound wonderful. I think so too. It was a great idea from Arlene, and we're looking forward to it. If you think of like your favorite songs, things that make you happy, bring it along. We'll try to broadcast it on Zoom. And Kathy Johnston's here. Good evening, all. Kathy, I think you can use some stress-free stuff. You had a stressful week. So I hope to see you there Tuesday night. So thanks everybody for coming on. So our topic is the importance of connection and community. And I wonder, you know, with the job that I do with AOG, why it took me so long to do this topic. It has been on my wish list of topics since the beginning. I guess I was waiting for the right time. I mean, there's so many topics that we can go with, but with everything, the stress going on this week and all that, I thought it was the right time to talk about it. And there's so many interesting things, like Eva said, about stress making disease worse. Do I want to get to that now? Yeah, I'll get to it now. So speaking of what Eva said, there's a fabulous book by a doctor named Gabor Mate. He writes books about addiction mostly, but he wrote this book back in 2003 called When the Body Says No, Exploring the Stress-Disease Connection. Very, very, very interesting. I have it on, very interesting. I have it on audiobook in my car also, and I listen because it's so interesting, the stuff he has done, the research that he's done on people getting sick and finding that they had some kind of childhood trauma or stress. It's a very interesting topic if it interests you. So I wanted to read you something. He's got a little chapter in here on attachment and connection. So you know what? I actually have a quote. It's a great quote. I made the quote. Unfortunately, the quote's hard to read. Let me see here. Bear with me. Here it is. Well, it's here for me, not here for you yet. Here we go. Oops, let me get me off. Okay, let me get this off too. One of these days, folks, I'll get all the technological stuff right, but for now, enjoy it. Okay, study after study concludes that people without social contact are at greatest risk for illness. People who enjoy genuine emotional support face a better prognosis, no matter what the disease. See, pretty graphic. You just really can't read it much, but that's okay. So I wanted to read you some of what he says here in the book that goes along with that. He says, connection is also vital to healing. Study after study concludes that people without social contact, the lonely ones, are at greatest risk for illness. People who enjoy genuine emotional support face a better prognosis no matter what the disease. Just heard that somewhere before. And then he's got a story which is interesting. Ever since a small nodule was found on his prostate 14 years ago, 71-year-old Derek has had annual PSA tests done. 2 years ago, he had a biopsy showing cancerous cells. And he says, the oncologist said I was high risk and he scared me. So I agreed to take 6 months of hormone therapy, which reduces the tumor. It kills your testosterone completely. You have to get a shot every 3 months. After the hormone treatment, the oncologist wanted to start radiation for 7 weeks. I said, no, I don't want this because I've read too much about it. Radiation and surgery temporarily fix the problem, but after 3 to 5 years, it often comes back. And the radiation destroys so many good cells in your body besides the bad ones. What did you go through emotionally when you were diagnosed? Gabor Mate asks him. Well, you see, that has been the problem with me. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell any of my friends. I kept it all to myself, except for my wife and my 2 daughters. Before I was a recluse, I was very private. Now I'm very open. I love lots of people around me. Before I didn't. I was perfectly happy to find a cave with a lock on the door, and I could live there happily for the rest of my life. My priorities have all changed. Before, I built steam locomotives for a hobby. I used to spend 16 hours a day in my workshop doing that, and I was absolutely happy. Now I haven't been in my workshop for 2 years since I got cancer. Now, he says, I need lots of people in my life. Cancer people support each other, and that's what we need to talk about it. The rest of my life, we will all be talking about it. It seems to be something that you have to do. Don't human beings in general need support and the opportunity to share emotions and to talk about their difficulties, cancer or no cancer? Why do you think cancer would have to teach you this? He says, I wondered that myself. When I was first diagnosed, I built a wall around me, and I didn't let anybody in because I felt safe inside there. That was a mistake I made. I put all my energies into fighting the cancer. For 11 months, when I finally thought the cancer was gone, I started to let this wall down. I started telling people about my experience, that I had cancer and that I had to get rid of it. I was quite proud of the fact. You were able to share once you defeated the thing, Gabor Mate says, but not while you were fighting it when you most needed support. Why did you keep your wife out? Oh, I thought he said he told his wife. Okay, I guess he didn't tell his wife. I never felt that she supported me, and yet I know she was supporting me. I guess he did tell her. But I wouldn't let her into my life. I had this wall around me, and I wouldn't let anybody in. We sometimes find it easier to feel bitterness or rage than to allow ourselves to experience that aching desire for contact that when disappointed, originally engendered the anger. Behind all our anger lies a deeply frustrated need for truly intimate contact. Healing both requires and implies regaining the vulnerability that made us shut down emotionally in the first place. We are no longer helplessly dependent children. We no longer need fear emotional vulnerability. We no longer need fear emotional vulnerability. We can permit ourselves to honor the universally reciprocal human need for connection and to challenge the ingrained belief that unconsciously burdens so many people with chronic illness that we are not lovable. Seeking connections is a necessity for healing. No, that was a little long, but I find that it's really important to what I wanted us to talk about. And I don't know about you guys, but I have a very similar story, which I'll tell you about in a minute. I looked up the definition for community, and I found it interesting. It's practically like the mission statement of Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. So community is a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. And isn't that exactly what we do in AOG? You know, like I mentioned before, we don't talk about our specific illnesses. We do it the live chats, but not in the group itself. We don't compare our pain, our illnesses, our injuries. We just assume we're all in the same amount of pain, and that's what works for us. And we need to show a kind of vulnerability to everybody in order for us to get better. And connection is healing, which you'll see in a minute in one of the other quotes that I'm reading. But we're hardwired for connection. We're also hardwired for that fight or flight mode, which I'm sure you know what it is. When something out of the ordinary comes on to us, we are afraid because we've been burned before by new symptoms, new illnesses and all that. So we try to stay comfortable, like we're constantly yearning for comfort. We've talked about this before too, and we most often don't find it. But when we do find it, we grasp onto it because we want to keep that comfort. So when we find it in the group, and the group is not for everybody, I will be the first to admit, it's for people that have come to acceptance with their illness or want to come to acceptance with their illness and are wondering if what we do will work for them, sharing gratitude, trying to be positive, doing intentions and affirmations and sharing free things we did great that day. It's all kind of it's optional, but it's all kind of like a great big program that we choose to do. We have 5,400 and something members, and they choose to come in. Nobody told them they had to come in. At least I don't think they did. So it's pretty impressive, and I'm always so proud of everybody that's come in. Let me go more to comments. Let's see what we got here. Okay, I'm not sure where I left off. Positive pit stop sound wonderful. Woohoo! Hope you'll be there, Karen. Kathy Johnson, I already got you guys. Well, you get double. Karen, I agree 100%. Why is this coming up small? Let us see, shall we? No, that's minimal. There we go. Okay, back to the comments. Denise says, what book is that? I assume you mean the one I just read from. It's called When the Body Says No, Exploring the Stress Disease Connection by, oh, you know what? I think I actually wrote a banner down because I knew somebody was going to ask me this question. I did. Yay for me. When the Body Says No, Exploring the Stress Disease Connection by Gabor Mate, 2003. I believe it's still in print. I sure hope so. I haven't seen anything else like it out there, and it's definitely worth a read or a listen. Yeah, I'm glad you liked that. Let's see what other comments we got. Oh, Jen Leos is here. Hey, Jen, glad you're here. You love my shirt. Thank you. Yes, community. Jen is one of the moderators of our group and helps us to be an awesome community. Without the moderators, I couldn't do what we do in the group. We wouldn't be the community that we are today. Robin says, AOG was one of the first ways I started looking for community support when I finally realized I needed a support system. Being housebound, my virtual life filled a void until I was able to reach out in reality. I'm so glad you found us, Robin. I remember when you came in. I'm not sure why, but I think it was kind of right away that you and Amy became pen pals, if I'm not mistaken. And she was always telling me how much she really enjoyed your notes and stuff. But, you know, however you guys come in to find us, I'm always so grateful that you do. We ask 3 questions before people come into the group. And the last one is, how did you find us? And I do that purely because I'm interested. You know, some people get told by their friend about it, or they stumble upon us when they search gratitude. So yeah, I enjoy that. Certainly not a question you need to answer to get in, but that's more for me to enjoy it. Glendale, thank you. You're welcome. Margaret Carrico Morris says, I realized just this week, as my land was finally cleared for my little home, yay, that my connections in AOG and AOG itself are the main reasons I've been able to meet my challenge of the last 6 months. You sure have had a challenge, Margaret. 6 weeks of planned glamping became 6 months, but the end is in sight. Carrie has made sure I eat, and she has been very helpful. Still, you friends made sure I was supported and loved from afar, distant only in a physical way, but so close to my heart. I am so grateful to the AOG connection. Looks like there was supposed to be more. Maybe there's more down below, but Margaret, that makes me want to cry. She's lived in her gazebo I believe on her daughter's property for the past 6 months during COVID, and she shared it with us, and it can't possibly be easy, but you've done it, and you've done it with a smile on your face. So good for you. Hi, Denise. I'm so glad you're here. Eva says, if you have time, a minute of anger weakens the immune system for 4 to 5 hours. We're talking about that too, Eva. You should have come on the show and been my guest. A minute of laughter improves the immune system for 24 hours. I cannot click on that link, but you guys will be able to, as it's a comment. So thank you. I can't wait to see whatever it is that you posted up there. Karen says, I think about living with ease rather than comfort. For sure. That's a good way of looking at it. I hadn't thought of that. Ease. Yeah, ease would be nice, wouldn't it? AOG was one of the first ways I started looking for community support when I finally realized I need. Oh, did I read that already? I'm going back. Oh my goodness. Fred Norton. Hello, old friend. Thanks for this. Fred Norton was my first boyfriend. When I lived in Illinois, I had such a crush on Fred. Hey, Fred. That is so awesome that you came in. Thank you. I believe he still lives in Illinois, right, Fred? So nice to see you. Isn't Facebook great sometimes? I mean, you just want to pull your hair out sometimes with things with the election and all that stuff, but sometimes it's just so cool. I think I was like, how old were we, Fred? Like 12, 13? I remember I had a pin that said, I love Fred. Oh, it's so great that you're here, Fred. Thanks for tuning in. Karen says, it's something that I say every morning. May I live with ease. That is a great tip. Thanks, Karen. I'm going to will I remember that? No. Maybe you can remind me of that. That would be great. That is wonderful. Arlene says, I'm so grateful for this community and all my new friends. Oh, Robin, I found one of Amy's letters last week. She loved writing letters. And when we first met and we lived, like 4 or 5 states over from each other, she asked me to write her a letter and I thought she was weird. I'm like, well, what, can't we just do it on here? Like email this? And she's like, no, write me a letter. And ever since then, I was kind of hooked on letters. And then we did the pen pal. I think it was Amy's idea to do the pen pal. She and Linda Edwards ran it for us. Oh, Robin, that's very meaningful. I'm glad you found that. Brenda Royer loves my shirt. I think I may have gotten it a while back on Etsy. You can find all sorts of gratitude shirts on Etsy. Eva says it's an Ellen video. I will have to check it out. Fred's in New York now. No way. Where in New York? Upstate by the city? I'm about an hour out of the city. Oh, so adorable. I wish I had a picture to pull up. That is so awesome. Okay, let's get to the topic, the stuff we haven't gotten to yet, the importance of connection and community. As Eva has told us, stress, what was I going to say about stress? I was going to say that stress not causes us stress. Did I write it down, I hope? Oh, connection helps reduce stress. We knew that already. And it's a little difficult to have connection now, isn't it? We're so lucky. I've said this for years that if I have to be sick, I'm so grateful that it's during this time of the internet and especially Zoom. This isn't Zoom, this is StreamYard, but our Flush the Format live chats and our positive political pit stop, non-political pit stop next week will be on Zoom. It's so great to be able to see people's faces and their eyes and their facial expressions. It definitely helps with not losing tone, right? Lost tone happens a lot with text messages, with just without our faces, text messages, instant messages and all that. So it's just like another level. You don't get the hug effect like you get when you're in person. But better than nothing. We were doing Zoom with a 12-step program I belong to for chronic pain and illness. And we've been doing Zoom meetings for several years now. And so I'd never really heard anybody else mention it until the pandemic came about. So it's really interesting to see how people are using it. Fred's in upstate. Very nice. It's beautiful up there, Fred. Beautiful. I've seen pictures of your family. I'm very glad that you are happy with your family in New York. Maybe sometime we can all be together that way. I'll wear my I Love Fred pin. I don't think I have it. Kathy Johnston, I need a good old-fashioned letter Did you sign up for our Happy Mail, Kathy? If you haven't, talk to Arlene or Linda. I think Linda's actually taking the names. Good old-fashioned letters are the best. And I've said this so many times that when you get one, you realize that it's just such a mindful thing. The person that was writing to you thought of you the entire time. You know, writing it out longhand, if you can. If you have tremors, you can type it out. But, you know, writing it out, putting it in an envelope, putting a stamp on it, putting it in the mail. When you're writing it, you are thinking of that person. When you're receiving it, it's like the best gift ever. You know somebody's handwriting, which is so not something we're used to these days. So sign up for Happy Mail, Kathy. Arlene says, I really enjoy the connection of physical letters, notes, and things through the mail. It is so nice to spend time with someone through the mail. So that is why I am crazy about Happy Mail. She's the chairperson of Happy Mail. Did Kathy send her name in? If not, let's put her down. I'm going to put out, I have a couple questions that maybe we can get to. The first one is, share with us what has changed in your life since joining Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. And if you're not a member of our group, but you're a member of other communities, either on Facebook or in person, you can change AOG to whatever community you belong to. I did not always believe in connection, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute when I tell you my story. But I used to keep it to myself, like that article showed, and it did not work well for me at all. So now on the flip side, not only do I believe in connection, I start this group 5.5 years ago because I strongly believe in connection. I think not being connected for me is very, very dangerous. So yeah, share with us what has changed in your life since joining AOG or another community, and what creative ways have you found to maintain connection during the pandemic? I'm going to ruin it for a couple of you guys, but we've already said it. We've got the Gratefully Living the Chronic Life here on Thursday nights. We've got Flush the Format on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, which is our live chat, and anything can be talked about. I feel like there was a third. What could that be? Maybe the group itself. I'll say the group itself. You have to come up with something more than that I just came up with. So those are our two questions that I'd love to hear from you guys. I got comments. Oh, we have answers to the question already. Yoo-hoo. Robin says, my happiness level has changed since I found AOG. I love hearing that. I do. Mine has too. And I didn't even intend on this becoming the community that it was, which I'll also talk about in a minute, but it has evolved into this beating heart of a community is what I like to find it. So whenever somebody says that their families noticed a change in them or they've noticed a change in their own happiness levels, it makes me really, really happy. Arlene says, I love that I found others who are empathetic like myself. I've learned to connect and be even more honest with my situation. It is therapy for me. And Heidi says, connection makes me feel loved, and that increases my self-confidence. Oh, Karen says, mine has too. Funny you talk about self-confidence, Heidi. Between you and Eva, you're coming up with a lot of the stuff that I found in my research. But you're absolutely right with the self-confidence. It's been proven to show that. Let's see, this is what I want to read before. Research shows that loneliness is on the rise and that a lack of human connection can be more harmful to our health than obesity, smoking, and high blood pressure. No joke. It's also been shown to show higher self-esteem, Heidi, and empathy, Arlene. And we've noticed during our chats that everybody, for the most part, that I've met in AOG, for the most part, identifies as an empath, which I find super interesting. I'm thinking that empaths gravitate towards our group, which I've probably said before, but it's worth saying again. I'm not sure if non-empaths would want to be a member of our group. I mean, I think everybody should join our group. But you know what I mean? You guys have met people too. So it seems to be all empaths, and we're much more apt to not coddle, but to help somebody else than to help ourselves. But that is going to change, right, folks? If you watched Dr. Judith Orloff's interview a couple weeks ago, she wrote this book, Thriving as an Empath, which is just absolutely incredible, empath or not. So I know some of you bought it after she was here. It's just fabulous. Also, human connection can improve our immune system, which we kind of said with Eva, stress and disease. If we're not connected, if we isolate, then our chances of having stress and then disease are much higher. I wanted to share with you something I found called the Rosetta effect. There's a town, oops, I'll get back to yours. Let me go back so I know where I was. Whew. Lots of comments. Okay. Where was I? The Rosetta effect. So there's a town in Pennsylvania called Rosetta, Pennsylvania. And, years and years and years ago, they were, those studies that they do to find like the happiest towns, the happiest states, the happiest cities. They did that kind of study. What's with the hands, I wonder? I'm not even Italian. Oh, well, I guess it helps me communicate. Let me get rid of this and put this up. Okay. So Rosetta, Pennsylvania. And for years and years and years, this little rural town in Pennsylvania was extremely healthy. They had nobody up until that point, nobody under the age of 45 who ever died of a heart attack. No joke. And it wasn't a particularly healthy town either. They used lard in their cooking, other than like olive oil or some of that Mediterranean diet. They smoked unfiltered cigars. What else did they do? It was a quarry town, so there was a lot of dust and stress. Certainly was on the map. But the thing that this town had that even the town surrounding it did not was human connection. These were very tight-knit families. The community would get together and do things. And the University of Oklahoma did a study, and that's what they found with this town. It was the human connection, the love, the community that they had, they feel is the cause for them being happy and lack of heart attacks under the age of 45. But these researchers came to a conclusion and said this is not going to last once they get like the rest of the world kind of into consumer driven and commuting into cities and losing that lack of community. They thought that things would change, and they did. By 1971, let's see, what does it say? By 1971, the stress level increased because they were commuting, they were more consumer driven. And in 1971, they had their first person under the age of 45 that had their heart attack, which is very sad. But isn't that interesting? All those things that they did, the lard, the smoking, they also had zero crime, which is interesting too. So it was just a happy community. So that's another example of just telling us that community and connection is just so important. So let me go more to comments because I see a bunch came in. Did I read this yet, Arlene? I really enjoy the connection of physical letters, notes, and things through the mail. It is so nice to spend time with someone through the mail. So that is why I'm crazy about Happy Mail. Beautiful, Arlene. I need to read one that just came in. Where'd it go? Shoot. Well, I hope it goes back. What else we got? Robin, this is my happiness. Oh, I did read these. Arlene again says, I love that I found, reread that too, sorry. You'd think it would be easier for me to figure out where we stopped. It and all of you, this is from Denise Gorgie, it and all of you, especially you, Lauren, saved my life. I can't manage my life without all of you. I truly love you all. Denise, right back at you. You are the first to help everybody when they need help in the group. You are the sweetest person. I share this a lot when Denise comes on, but I met her. I had written a letter for The Mighty, which is a online news for people with chronic conditions. And I forget what the article was about, but I think it was like 8 life hacks to help you with chronic pain and illness. And Denise shared in the comments when they shared it on Facebook, she shared in the comments that she was really pretty down and she wasn't sure, I think, right, Denise? She wasn't sure how to get through it. And so I said, why don't you join our group? It was very small at the time. And she did, and the rest is history. I love you, Denise. Glad you came on board. Karen says, mine has too. Heidi says, connection makes me feel loved and that increases my self-confidence. I'm sorry, I am repeating these. But they're good ones, so that's okay. Arlene says, reading others' comments have boosted me in the darkest moments. Not monuments, silly. If they can feel this way, so can I. Julia says, I love these lives and all the topics you pick. Oh, these lives meaning Thursday lives. That's great. It makes me happy to connect on here and learn so much from you. Thank you, Julia. Your comments always make me feel good every week. They really do. And like I said in the beginning of the broadcast, I think it would be a lot different if it was just me on here, talking. For me, and I think for the special part about it is the interaction from all you guys, because I don't know anything. I'm a student of the human experience. I love sociology, what I do with AOG, and my blog and Gratefully Living the Chronic Life is a labor of love because it really interests me. And I went through a very dark time, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. And I never want anybody to have to go through that if they don't have to. So that's why I do this group, our live broadcasts, and share my story in the hopes that it will help somebody else. Karen says, never knew connection was so important. Absolutely. Neither did I, Karen. Margaret says, I have more things to look forward to each day via AOG. I wake up knowing I will have true friends to connect with each day. That's so nice. Karen says, empathy are full of compassion. Says that in the literature too, that we, when we connect, we learn how to be compassionate, even more than we were before. Denise says, using the internet to connect with all of you, I'm happier now, and my family has noticed it. The friends I met who cared for me when I had COVID, you all make me feel truly blessed. Make me feel truly blessed. No, blessed. Oh, I'm gonna cry. I feel the same, Denise. My daughter, Riley, says, I love you. Thanks for tuning in, baby. My Riley girl, thanks, sweetheart. I love you too. Makes me feel good that you guys tune in. Eva's got a smiley face. Okay, I have some more quotes I wanted to share. I found a whole bunch of quotes today for this topic. So let's see if I can get those on, shall we? We shall. Okay. No. All right, this, do we have it? No, not yet. Why not? Because I haven't done this. I think you guys will be bored when I finally get all this down because it's always worth a laugh. All right, are we getting this? Yes, we are. From the wonderful and my idol, Brene Brown, she says, we cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and powerful selves to be deeply seen and known, and when we honor the spiritual connection that grows from that offering with trust, respect, kindness, and affection. Beautiful, Brene. We're best friends. She doesn't know it yet, but we are best friends, me and Brene. I'll let her know it someday. We looked at that already. Okay, is this on? Let me get rid of me. It'll be easier to read. Okay. Connecting to another is one of the most important things in the world, and you can keep expanding that connection. One person, a family, a community, a country, a society, a culture. Gorgeous. That's by Eric Fischel. Okay. And this, if this is an attitude of gratitude with chronic pain, I do not know what is. The greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members. I'm going to read that again. The greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members. And that is by Coretta Scott King. Beautiful. AOG to a T. And I think this is the last one, again, by my best friend, Brene. I define connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. Bingo. Bingo, Brene, my best friend. Beautiful. And gosh, you guys have such great stuff that you're sharing. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Got more comments here. Denise says, I was in a deep, dark place when I read your article, almost suicidal. I'm so glad you reached out to me when I commented on your article. You helped me save my life. I like that better. I didn't save anything. I helped you to learn how to save your life because you wanted to save your life. You know, depression is no joke. It's very common when you live with a chronic condition, and people with depression, anxiety, they come to our group too, even if they don't live with chronic physical pain, because our pain is our pain is our pain, and it affects us the same way emotionally. And so that's what we work on. You know, suicidal thoughts are very common too when you live with a chronic condition. And I suggest if you are going through depression and thoughts of committing suicide, please contact the suicide hotline, which I should have on here, but I don't. Easy to find online though. And please come into our group, find another group that may help you. But, you know, talking about your story, sharing your story, like you just did, Denise, and others, sharing your story is a great first step out of the mess. I didn't used to like to share my story. I was embarrassed by it. But now I share it as if it's the Pledge of Allegiance. It's part of me. It's part of what has made me grow. And I like to think that I help somebody every time I share it. Karen says, beautiful quote. I love it. Denise got a book by my best friend, Renee, Braving the Wilderness. Oh, I wonder if that's the new one. I think there's a new one. I haven't gotten that one yet. I'm jelly. Let me know how it is. Robin, you slayed the quote game this week. I know, right? Thank you. I did. There were so many others I wanted to share too. Karen says depression is horrible. It is. It definitely is. I recommend, again, go to the suicide hotline, stay deeply connected in our group or other groups, because it's no joke. It's nothing to throw out there lightly, that is for sure. Arlene, to make a difference in someone's life, you don't have to be rich, brilliant, beautiful, or perfect. You just have to care. Absolutely. So let me share with you then my story, which has a lot to do with connection. And many of you have heard this already, so I apologize, but there is a point to it all. I've been sick with lupus and fibromyalgia for 20 years. Got it when my kids were toddlers. I was like in my early 30s. Started off thinking that it was Lyme disease because that's what my local doctor told me. And even though I tested negative, my area is very big for Lyme disease. So they don't know what's wrong. You've got Lyme disease. I kind of knew it wasn't Lyme disease, though. It felt like I had the flu. I was achy all over. My joints were achy. nausea, vomiting. It was kind of a mess. But I went on with Lyme disease, although still going from doctor to doctor, infectious disease doctors, rheumatologists, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, a year later, I was diagnosed with lupus and fibromyalgia, or connective tissue disorders. My life after that, for the most part, I was able to live mainly the way I used to, minus the times I had flares. So it would be like, maybe every couple months I would have a flare that would last a week, 2 weeks, a month even, where I was kind of miserable, stuck on the couch. I was countess of the couch, I like to say. So I would be laid up. But after that, I was like Uber volunteer at the kids' school. I was PTA president. Like, I was very active. I've always loved connecting with people. That's just part of who I am. Until years later, I want to say it was like 2009, so 8 years later, my symptoms started getting a whole lot worse, and the flares were lasting longer and longer. And I developed deep, dark depression, and my pain was brutal, as I know many of you can relate to. And I just wasn't really getting flares anymore. It was just an ongoing flare, where the pain just got so much worse. Headaches, swallowing problems, all these things. This was before I had neurological issues. That's kind of past 2 years. So eventually all the social stuff that I used to enjoy doing, I had to stop. Did I really have to stop? Yeah, I think I did. I think I wasn't able to do the stuff. I'm sure part of it was probably emotional thinking, but I didn't go out anymore. And my friends, my family and friends all offered to help. They did. And I wouldn't accept their help. I would lay there on the couch, not showering for a month. I'm not even kidding. That I tend to exaggerate, but that one I do not exaggerate. I would sit there and watch all the Real Housewives and all of that. It was a really, really dark place. And I thought, because none of my pain medications were working, I had the bright idea of drinking as my pain medicine. I tend to cry when I tell this, and that's healing for me. So watch out, I might cry. Crying's healing, right? So I developed a pretty serious drinking problem. And although I didn't really know it at the time, which sounds ridiculous because if I look back on it now, I'm like, dummy, of course you had a drinking problem. But I think I used to qualify it with, well, I've got pain and I'm depressed and pain meds don't work, so I'm allowed to drink. And it was about a year. It didn't last long, but it got very, very bad. And I was drinking in the car. Now, that's the funny thing. I didn't go anywhere. I said no to all plans, but somehow I would have a something miraculous happen, and I was able to go to the liquor store to get my liquor. It was really bad. It wasn't a serious problem. And eventually, within 3 months, I had 2 DWIs. The second one is the one I cry over both of them. But the second one, I don't remember at all, still to this day. And it's been almost 8 years. I was driving. I know this only from the police report. I was driving slowly, weaving in and out, or weaving around the road. And I eventually hit a parked box truck. Thank God. Thank God I did not hit anybody else. Well, I did hit the guy in the parked box truck, I believe, but it was slow. And I did not hurt him, thank God, or myself. So I woke up in the hospital, not knowing how I got there. My parents were there, my husband was there, and they told me what happened. And I argued with them, how could that be? Because I didn't even go anywhere. And I really didn't think I did. I had no idea that I went out anywhere. Where did I go? I can only imagine the liquor store. If you're that drunk and you're going to the liquor store, you've got a real problem. Prior to the DUI, my mom would find, I support groups for me. Like, here's a lupus support group, here's this kind of support group, chronic pain support group. And my answer was always, I don't want to go to a support group because it sounds depressing. I don't want to talk to anybody else about my issues because I'm depressed enough. I don't want to be more depressed. And I truly believed that. But I think deep down, I just didn't want to admit my truth about the pain, illness, and of course, the drinking. So people were offering to help me, and I always said no. It's not that I was alone. I made myself alone. I made myself isolate. Rob was here, of course. The kids, oh gosh, I was not a very good mother. They didn't have much of a mother back then. So what happens after this? I go to rehab. My sister and my rheumatologist helped find this wonderful place in Connecticut called Silver Hill Hospital. And they had a place at the time called Chronic Pain and Recovery Program. And I didn't have a leg to stand on when I said I didn't want to go to rehab. 2 DWIs in 3-4 months, along with the very high alcohol rate that I had in my blood. It was very, very high. I couldn't possibly argue my way out of it, even though I didn't think I needed it. So I went to the Chronic Pain and Recovery Program. Didn't really tell my friends much about the alcohol aspect of it. I went there to get sober as well. But that's where I met Dr. Bruce Singer, actually. He was the coordinator, head doctor of the Chronic Pain and Recovery Program. So I was there for the 30 days of rehab, and I actually kind of loved it. I mean, I was miserable when I got there. Don't get me wrong. I was horrified. I was humiliated. I didn't know what had happened when it came to the alcohol. How could I let this happen is kind of what I was thinking. So going to AA meetings and to the pain management meetings, I had to open up. I didn't have a choice. And it was hard at first. It was really, really hard. But eventually I did it. I remember the first time I was at my 12-step program and I had to say, I'm Lauren, I'm an alcoholic. Whew, that was really hard to say. Really, really hard to say. I think something about it coming out of my mouth made it real. After that, I didn't have much of a hard time saying it. But the reason why I wanted to bring that up is being forced to connect and be part of a community while I was there. I was much more open with the chronic pain aspect in my story there. The alcohol took me a while. It took me many, many 12-step meetings to fully admit that I had an alcohol problem. So I left after 30 days. I was sober. I'm now sober 7.5 years. Proud to say, very, very proud to say. My biggest achievement, with the exception of having my children, Riley and Jake. So then I got home and I was going to the 12-step meetings for alcohol, but there were no 12-step meetings for chronic pain. And I think it was about a year later, Dr. Singer asked me to come back up to Silver Hill Hospital to share my story with the current chronic pain program because he felt that there was somebody there who could benefit from my story. So I shared my story, which I hadn't shared in a while because I wasn't talking about my chronic pain anywhere. And he came out and asked me, so how's your chronic pain 12-step program? He knew he was getting me because I wasn't going to one. And I said, there aren't any in New Jersey. And he's like, Lauren, why don't you start one? So I did. I started the 12-step program. And then soon after that, I started Attitude of Gratitude with chronic pain. And the reason why I started AOG was because I had become members of various groups on Facebook. But it was all, even though they were so helpful to me and the different symptoms that I had, every time I get a new symptom, I certainly join their group on Facebook because it helps to know what to expect. But chronic pain, I couldn't find any that weren't depressing. And I know that's kind of the nature of the beast, you know, chronic pain, chronic illness, chronic injury, emotional, physical, whatever we have. Um, it's not like it's fun or funny at all, but um, we do make fun out of our symptoms sometimes, and I think that's a really good point of acceptance of our illness. So I started this group as a way for people to come 24/7, 7 days a week, where they can come and always get something positive. And it's not that I wanted to not, I never wanted to offer a place where people couldn't, that's not coming out right. We need to complain. We need to vent. I will be the first to admit that. And our page does not allow you to vent unless you're at our live chats Tuesday, Wednesday, or tonight. The page is everybody's on an equal playing field. We don't say what we have. We don't talk about our medications, our pain levels, all that. It's just under the assumption that we're all in the same amount of pain. That's how we work the best. And it can take a little while to get used to it at first. And like I said earlier, for some people, it's not for them, and that's okay. But for people that have kind of tried everything else and want to try something new, this works out well for them, whether if it's chronic physical pain or emotional depression, anxiety, or both or all. You know, a lot of us struggle with many, many things. So the group has been around now 5.5 years. We have 5,400 members. You guys, many of you guys are members of the group. And I honestly don't know what we would do without you. You come to this place of acceptance. You share here on Thursday nights your tips, your tricks, what has worked for you. Those of you that come to Flush the Format, you share your truth. And sharing your truth is a beautiful thing. Sharing your truth takes away its power from you and helps somebody else. So the more I share my story, the less power it gives over me. And I really kind of hardly cried this time, didn't I? Not much. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But the more I share about it, the less power it gives me. And it is true, and I've learned from it, and I hope that others can learn from it too. So that's the story of AOG. The reason why I didn't want to share before, I've mentioned some of it to you, is I didn't want to be depressed myself. I didn't want to be a downer to my friends. This is what I told myself. Because I know we all know somebody that just complains. And it's kind of a downer, and you don't really want to hang around with that person all that much. I didn't want to be that person. And I thought nobody will understand. That was a cop-out too. I have friends that really try to understand, and that's all I can ask, is trying to understand. And then we've got our groups, like right here, and you guys understand, even though you don't know, we don't know specifically what each other has, we understand. So thank you for listening to my story, and that's how AOG came to be, the community that we are, and the connection, the tight connection that we hold. So where did we leave off? Got that. Quotes. Depression is horrible. Yep, got that. I've got Arlene's quote already. Facebook user, depression is awful and dark. I'm sorry I don't see your name or your picture. If you want to show your name or your picture, you have to log back on facebook.com StreamYard, but if you don't want to share your name, that's fine too. But thank you, Facebook user. Depression is awful and dark. And again, love to you, Lauren. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Love to you too. Arlene says, thank you for sharing your story so openly. I really appreciate your honesty. You are such a strong woman admitting your truth. In this, you have connected with so many people. Sober over, you like how I put the so in there? She didn't do that. I did that. What an ego. Sober over 7 years is a huge achievement. Thanks, Arlene. Arlene says, you have been a catalyst in helping so many accept their current life situation. This page is such a safe place for people who need to get away from the pain. Thank you. Thank you. That's the idea. Robin says, I know your gratitude approach absolutely appealed to me. Did it? That's great. Some people think it's like a little crazy until they try it. And maybe they still think it's crazy and then they leave. But you don't know if it'll work for you unless you try it. You know, we're all different. Anyway, I knew your gratitude approach absolutely appealed to me as soon as I found it. I had discovered the power of gratitude, and to realize I could apply it to my pain was a blessing. I'm very proud about that. I like to think that I was the first one to kind of talk about our attitude of gratitude and applying it to chronic pain. It sounds ridiculous. How can anybody with chronic pain be grateful? And it's not easy. You know, some days you're just not grateful. You cannot think of one thing to be grateful for. But if you fake it until you make it, if you just say, find something, the light above my head, the air in my lungs, my eyesight, my children, my husband, you guys, you know, you can always find at least one thing. And if you keep at it, eventually you will become grateful. Studies show that. Karen says, beautiful story, Lauren. So we're after the hour. Again, I always go beyond. Last week I was on time. I did 45 minutes though. Beautiful story, Lauren. Thank you, Karen. Thank you very much. And Arlene, good night, and thank you for your shared time. Good night, everybody. Thank you so, so much for being here. Join us, well, a couple things. Join us next Tuesday for Positive Pit Stop from Politics. That is at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're all going to be happy, happy, joy, joy. Do some fun stuff. Bring along any ideas you might have. Wear cozy slippers like this. Bring your cup of tea. Bring some poems. Play some happy music. We'll have fun. That is prior to our regular Flush the Format, where you can share about your illness and all that. So that's at 7. Positive Pit Stop from Politics is at 8 until 10. And then the following day, we do another Flush the Format Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I hope you guys join us. Remember how important connection is and community. Thank you for being here tonight. And for part of the group. Oh, Denise is so cute. I don't care when you go over the time. I love you. I love you too. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I love you all. Peace and love. Bye now. Okay, it's supposed to go up here. There we go.